If you're trying to learn a language in 2025, you're probably making this one mistake that's destroying your chances of reaching fluency. And it's not the learning methods you're using that are the problem. The problem is you don't have the right expectations for how long it actually takes to learn a language. If you were at mile 1 of a marathon, but kept thinking, why can't I see the finish line yet? Where's the finish line? How can I get to the finish line faster? You would destroy all of your motivation to keep going. Spend even 5 minutes on Language Learning Reddit, and you'll see tons of learners doing just that, driving themselves to despair with stress and worry based on the false idea that they should be seeing results way faster than they are. They're in the early stages of the language learning journey, but constantly asking why they can't understand a grammar point, why they can't recall a word, why they can't speak yet, and this leads many to simply give up. But it's not that they're actually falling behind, it's just that their expectations are unrealistic, and this is a product of language learning being a product. There is a lot of money to be made by promising language learners shorter and shorter timelines. Why would I buy the 3-month course when I can learn a language in 2 weeks? Why would I buy the 2-week course when I can learn a language in 24 hours? Even the FSI figures that a lot of people rely on to gauge how long it takes leave out hundreds or even thousands of hours of study from their estimates. And one thing that particularly annoys me is when content creators who genuinely have reached a very high level in a language over the course of years will sell courses implying that you'll sound like them by the end when they didn't take that course to get where they are. The reality is, learning a language takes a very long time, way longer than most people realize. And the people who are telling you there's a faster way are almost always trying to sell you something. But knowing that language learning takes way longer than you initially expect shouldn't scare you or stop you from trying. The opposite, actually. By recognizing that it's going to take a super long time, you can brush off the times when you forget a random grammar structure, or can't understand a native speaker who asks you a question in the grocery store, or have a language lesson with a tutor that goes poorly. Having realistic expectations enables you to stop stressing about those little things that will inevitably happen over the language learning journey. If you were at mile 1 of the marathon and knew that you'd be running for a while before you saw the finish line, so you just focused on controlling your breathing and putting one foot in front of the other, and maybe even tried to soak in the race atmosphere and enjoy how it felt to be around so many people also trying to reach the same goal, and you smelled the smells and listened to the cheers of the crowd, eventually you would cross the finish line, and you might actually have fun while doing it. The reason I titled this video, More Input is Always the Answer, is because for the people who keep asking these questions, the answer is always to just get more input. I have yet to see someone who has spent 5,000 hours immersing in Spanish still asking questions about how to figure out a certain vocab word or grammar structure, but I'm constantly seeing people 100 hours in ask those questions. By the time you get to a point in the language learning journey where simply consuming more content won't necessarily solve whatever issue you feel you're having, you'll already understand how enormous the task of reaching a really high level is, and will get that it's just a matter of keeping going. And yes, I know that 5,000 hours is a really long time. Language learning isn't actually a marathon. It's an ultra marathon. We don't realize it, but our language learning goals are often really high. Many language learners want and expect to be able to communicate the same way they do in their primary language. But when they can't do that after 3 months, they get depressed. But we're so used to reading and thinking and talking and writing and watching stuff in our primary language that we don't even get how advanced we actually are. People are complaining about not being able to have basic conversations or understand basic grammar and basic words without getting that those things are not basic at all. And even worse, we totally ignore how long it took for us to get to the level we're at. We've spent tens or even hundreds of thousands of hours immersed in our primary language and get mad when we can't speak with that same level of ease in a language we've spent 500 hours with. Of course we can't. While I'm a proponent of mass immersion learning, I believe that language learning is sort of an all roads lead to Rome situation. assuming you spend enough time on the road. There's no one right method, and this is why there's endless debate about what people should or have to do, and there are so many people pushing so many methods. In reality, it pretty much all works as long as you actually stick with it. And that can make it super confusing for people who have totally incorrect expectations for how long this process takes, and as a result, don't see the super fast improvements that they expected when they started and try to keep looking for new methods that they think will give them those results. The further along I go in this journey, the more confident I feel saying that the single best thing you can do to improve your language ability is to spend more time with the language. And maybe this is a hot take, but I don't think it even really matters that much what you do. Study grammar or don't, do flashcards or don't, take a reading heavy approach or take a listening heavy approach, work through a course or do it yourself, speak early or don't speak for a while. I don't think it really matters. If you keep going long enough, you will reach a high level. Even though I'm pretty critical of language learning apps like Duolingo, I have no doubt that someone who spends 2 hours a day doing Duolingo would end the year way further along than someone who spends 5 minutes a day watching comprehensible input. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much research you do on the best running shoes. It doesn't matter if you change your running form every 5 minutes. It doesn't matter if you hire a personal trainer with a fancy running course, if you never actually put one foot in front of the other enough times to get to the finish line. So please, stop even thinking about your end goal. Stop thinking about the results you feel you should have. Recognize that this is going to be a monumental journey and do what you can to enjoy it as much as possible. Because if you enjoy it, you'll do it. And if you do it long enough, you'll get the results you want. In other words, the answer is always to get more input.